On this podcast, Jeff does not pull punches. He does not make comments that are safe. He tells the truth. He tells things like he sees them. He's very opinionated. You don't like his opinions? Tough. He says the things out loud you're probably already thinking. He's unfiltered, unspun, a little unhinged, but he offers a lot of common sense. This podcast could make you mad. This podcast could make you smile. Regardless, it will make you think. This is A World Gone Mad.
And welcome to another episode of A World Gone Mad, Season 1, Episode 12. Wow, episodes are flying by. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf, and in the opening segment, we usually do the odds and ends, which I'm going to get to, but I want to state something right now. As I record this, Iran did a retaliatory or full-scale attack on Israel. We don't know at the moment. It's literally playing out second by second as I'm recording. We will not give that short shrift. I will get back to that in a little while. I'm going to cover the news I was going to cover for the past week, and then we'll pick up about Iran. Now, I am concerned, obviously, about the Iran attack on Israel in retribution or retaliation. I am excited in one area, though, separately. We have a lot of new people listening to the show. We just hit our 47th state. We picked up Delaware, and our 25th country, Ireland, and we have well over 1,000 followers. So if you're new to the show, welcome aboard. A lot of Facebook groups, and I just started a new Facebook group for the podcast. I'll give you that in a little later on in the show. So thank you. Listen in, and here we go. So Ron DeSantis from Florida. Remember, he did not like Trump. Guess what? He's telling donors he plans to help fundraise for Donald Trump. He told supporters and donors at an appreciation retreat over this past weekend that he would help gather money for his presidential rival. He's committed to helping Trump in any way and every way he can. And all I can say is, are we smelling vice presidency, Mr. DeSantis? You didn't like Donald. You didn't want to be a part of his stuff, but you're fundraising for him. So I'm assuming you're waiting to be in line for VP, hoping Donald gets arrested and put away, and you become the president. Yeah, over my dead body. But that's my commentary on that. So in some more fun news, I say that sarcastically, state prosecutor is going to investigate whether Georgia Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones violated criminal law in his efforts to help former President Donald Trump subvert the 2020 election results in the state. Peter Skandalakis, I believe I pronounced that right, director of the Prosecuting Attorney's Council of Georgia, has appointed himself to investigate the matter, according to a news release. So another Trump associate up for possible prosecution. Are we running out of space for all of these crazies and corrupt people? We don't have time to cover it in the news all the time, and we're going to run out of jail space. So my understanding is House conservatives, we know this, if you haven't paid attention to this, I know this, revolted against GOP leadership, defeated a key vote on the floor this past Wednesday, the latest blow to Speaker Mike Johnson that comes after former President Donald Trump called on Republicans to kill a controversial surveillance law. Trump had urged House Republicans to reject a reauthorization of the law, known as FISA, ahead of the key procedural vote this past Wednesday, adding to the headache for GOP leaders who have struggled to build support for the legislation. But we're still attempting to forge ahead and advance the bill, they say. Kill FISA, Trump wrote on his social media platform, Truth Social, sorry, I have to get it right. Apparently they revised the bill and that went through, so we're still waiting to hear what walking orders or marching orders that the conservative Republicans are listening to Trump on, because, hey, they don't have a mind of their own. Trump says what to do and they do it. Isn't this sad? So there was a ruling supposedly to happen, and it happened this past Tuesday. A federal judge decided that the names of the potential witnesses in the classified documents case against, guess who? Donald Trump, that's right, will remain secret, resolving one of the issues that has created a logjam in the criminal case. Now, after months of arguing over what pieces of information in court filings should stay redacted, Judge Eileen Questionable Judge Cannon agreed with special counsel Jack Smith's office that releasing names and other identifying information could put them at risk. Cannon said that the prosecution's request for redactions was sweeping in nature as applied to all potential governmental witnesses without differentiation. She concluded that Smith's team had proven that witnesses' details needed to be protected. How novel, at least at this juncture. Now, don't forget, Judge Cannon is the one who has, 10 more rulings she's dragging her feet on in this case against Trump, protecting Trump, is my take on it from last week, I said. So let's see where this goes and how fast she'll move, if at all. RFK. We know who RFK is. He is the one running as the third-party candidate against Biden and Trump. Well, here's some news if you didn't know. RFK Jr. campaign official had attended the January 6th Stop the Steal rally and wanted former President Trump to run for a third term. A New York-based campaign official for RFK, who raised the possibility that voting for the independent presidential candidate would help Donald Trump defeat President Joe Biden, previously promoted false claims that the 2020 election was rigged, and attended the Stop the Steal rally January 6th in Washington, D.C. That preceded the deadly riot at the U.S. Capitol. Rita Palmer, who has identified herself as the Kennedy campaign state director in New York, also repeatedly called Trump her favorite president, according to tweets, along with comments she posted on the conservative social media site Perrier, that have since been made private. So more dirty laundry, more dirty connections, and this time associated with someone from RFK's campaign. It never, ever stops, does it? So you've recently seen in the news where Donald Trump made a statement on abortion. He said, I'm going to kick it to the states. I will not sign a national abortion law, but let the states decide. Well, Arizona shows, my home state here, that punting to the states will not alleviate Trump's abortion problem. It only took a day, and a stunning court ruling revived an abortion ban in a vital swing state to disprove Donald Trump's claim that he had taken the issue of abortion largely out of play for the 2024 election. Oh, did I tell you the Arizona Supreme Court's order for the state to implement the law, which is a 160-year-old Civil War time frame, which contains a single exception to save the life of a pregnant person? It opened a wide lane for Democrats in a state that could decide the presidential election and the destiny of the Senate. Democrats see an opportunity to campaign on what's been a winning issue for them recently, reproductive rights, and to appeal especially to suburban women. Women are pissed. You want to see them rally around this during the election time? The ruling was the latest in a series of hardline court decisions and moves by conservative state legislatures in the wake of the U.S. Supreme Court's overturning of a constitutional right to an abortion in 2022. It represents yet another significant victory for a 50-year campaign by anti-abortion activists. Well, another ruling came down. If you haven't seen Donald Trump on one of his appeals of his many, how many, did we lose count, 100 appeals already? Well, an appeals judge denies Trump's request to delay the start of his hush money trial so he can challenge the gag order imposed on him from the judge. Now, that trial starting Monday, this Monday, they're picking the jury. An appeals court judge has denied former President Donald Trump's request to stay the start of his New York hush money trial so he could challenge the gag order imposed on him by the judge. New York Associate Justice Cynthia Kern denied the application for an interim stay just minutes after hearing arguments on the matter Tuesday. A full appeals court panel will still consider Trump's petition, but it will not delay the start of the trial Monday. And in a similar connecting judgment on this case, the judge denies the request to postpone the trial and move the venue in the hush money case. So there was two rulings. One, not to stop the trial because of the gag order that he wanted to appeal, Trump did, or to move the venue because he couldn't get a fair trial in Manhattan, was what Trump said. New York Appeals Court has denied Donald Trump's petition to change the venue of this hush money trial starting Monday. The former president's attorneys on Monday had urged the court to postpone the trial so it could consider whether to change the venue. He can't get a fair trial, he said. So what do you hear the answer from the judge? But Associate Justice Elizabeth Gonzalez quickly denied the motion to stop the trial after hearing arguments Monday, and there was no further argument on the motion to change the venue. That's done. Nothing in Trump's filings suggests New York County is uniquely saturated with media coverage or that New Yorkers in the county are uniquely incapable of being fair, the judge ruled. Now, listen to this. The mere fact that jurors know about the case is not an indication of bias. This is the defendant coming into this argument with unclean hands himself because the publicity in large part is his own. Well stated, Judge. I want to touch back on one thing we talked about earlier about abortion, and I want to fact check Donald on something. This is interesting. Trump makes wildly inaccurate claim that all legal scholars on both sides of the aisle wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. Former President Donald Trump has accurately boasted that he played a central role in getting the Supreme Court to overturn the 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that guaranteed abortion rights across the country. But he keeps making wildly inaccurate claims that the court's 2022 decision to rescind Roe had universal support. Sorry, I had to laugh. In a video statement on abortion policy posted on social media Monday, Trump said, "I was proudly the person responsible for the ending of something that all legal scholars, both sides, wanted and in fact demanded to be ended, Roe v. Wade. They wanted it ended." Later in his statement, Trump said that since we have abortion where everybody wanted it from a legal standpoint, states are free to determine their own abortion laws. All right, let's get some fact checks going here, Donnie boy. First, Trump's claim that all legal scholars wanted Roe overturned is not even close to true. Many wanted Roe preserved, as several legal scholars reiterated in last Monday's comments to CNN. Trump's broader claims that everybody wanted states to be granted the power to determine abortion law are also false. What else is new? Opinion polls have consistently showed a large majority of Americans did not want Roe terminated. Many legal scholars wanted Roe preserved. It is not clear what percentage of legal scholars wanted Roe v. Wade overturned. Some of them certainly did, but not every single person on both sides of the aisle, according to Mr. Donald. Before I take a short break, I wanted to talk about the new Facebook group that I set up literally 30 hours ago, less than that, 24 hours ago. So we have an email, we have a phone number. I'll give that to you during the next couple of minutes during the podcast. But if you don't want to do that, at least join the Facebook group. For everyone out there, it's easy, it's free. Be a part of a community where there are Democrats, Independents, Republicans, like-minded like you, just like Donald, just like the MAGA supporters. And it's very easy. Go to Facebook. In the search, type in A World Gone Mad Podcast. Bing, it pops up. Hit join. Become a part of our community. A World Gone Mad Podcast. Facebook group. Growing as we speak. Be a part. And there you could share comments among everyone else and we can interact. I'm going to take a short break. And when I come back, my commentary on Special Counsel Jack Smith urging the Supreme Court to reject Trump's claim of immunity and the latest on the retaliation strike of Iran against Israel. As I say, the thick plottins, I'll be right back. You're listening to A World Gone Mad. Just wanted to let you know you can reach me with our toll-free number 24 hours a day, 7 days a week And that number is 833-399-9653, 833-399-9653. Leave your name, your age, your location where you're listening from. Don't forget to subscribe. Hit subscribe on whatever app you're on, and also rate the show and give a review. Thank you so much. Now back to the show. And welcome back to a World Gone Mad podcast. And before the break, I was saying my commentary was going to be about two things. Jack Smith urging the Supreme Court to deny Donald Trump's claim of immunity as president, and the Iran-Israel situation that's happening as I speak at the moment. And because that situation is so volatile, so dangerous, I'm going to put the Jack Smith commentary on hold till next week and just strictly concentrate on Israel and Iran. Now, not to go over hundreds and hundreds of years of background on all of this, Israel, Palestine, Iran, Iraq, United States, etc. Let's just talk about the recent events. So, in no particular order as far as how far back, but basically Israel, if I'm not mistaken, attacked the embassy in Syria, the Iranian embassy, killed 2 or 3 generals. It hasn't been confirmed exactly. Some people say 2, some people say 3. Iran then fired 200 cruise missiles and ballistic missiles and 100 plus drones into Israel in the past less than 24 hours. And that's where we stand right now. Now, bear in mind when you hear this podcast, there's going to be things happening or not happening that I can't comment on because the podcast would have already been recorded now and ready for upload Tuesday morning. So I'm just going to cover up to the point of this weekend, where we're at, and what the status is right at this moment in time. So it appears from all analysts that Iran's attack basically was planned to minimize casualties while maximizing impact. In other words, a dramatic show of force, and this is in our response to Israel and the killing of the generals at the embassy. So realize, I'm not minimizing this. Iran, this is the first time Iran has ever fired directly from their soil rockets or any type of attack into Israel. And when I say they're doing it to minimize casualties, it wasn't a direct strike to involve damage or create massive problems, because they would have had a massive response in return back from Israel and everyone else. That's what the analysts are saying. That's not what I'm saying. So now we waited for Israel's response to the attack of Iran. And Israel's War Cabinet Minister, Benny Gantz, vows Israel will exact a price from Iran, which caused Iran to counter back from the Iranian president, who said any new aggression against Iran from Israel or anyone else will be met with heavier and regrettable response. And of course, in the last few hours, all the major countries in the world got together in their own country and on phones, etc. President Joe Biden and senior members of his national security team seeking to contain the risk of a wider regional war following the barrage of Iranian missiles and drones directed towards Israel. He has told their counterparts that the U.S. will not participate in any offensive action against Iran, according to U.S. officials familiar with the matter. Now, in a conversation with Prime Minister Netanyahu this past yesterday, Biden sought to frame Israel's successful interception of the Iranian onslaught as a major victory, with the suggestion that further Israeli response was unnecessary. In other words, to coin a phrase or to kind of state the obvious, you stopped them, good luck, you don't need to do anything else, Mr. Netanyahu. Now realize Israel is part of NATO, and the automatic start of that clause that anybody who is attacked who's a member of NATO, everyone in NATO responds. But in this case, even though Israel is part of NATO, President Joe Biden said, no, we're not going to directly attack Iran. We'll do it diplomatically. We'll do it in other ways, whatever that may be, where we're not going to participate in a direct involvement into Iran. Now, further adding information to the situation at hand, House Speaker Mike Johnson said lawmakers will try this week, finally, to pass additional aid to Israel. What about Ukraine? But the details are not yet finalized. Now, the House Republicans and the Republican Party understand the necessity of standing with Israel. We're going to try again this week, Mike Johnson said, and the details of that package are being put together right now. We're looking at the options and all these supplemental issues. So that's where we stand as of this moment as I record this podcast. Like I said, things could change in a second, and in the next 72 hours, by the time you hear this commentary, things could be dramatically different, worse, better, who knows. But I wanted to do something. I reached out to a person in Israel who lives in Israel, happens to be a friend of mine, and we had a conversation about this, and this was very interesting, and I'm not going to edit it. I'm going to give you his side of the conversation. I'm going to give you my side of the conversation. It's not an audio interview, so I'm going to be reading you what he said and what I said, and I'm going to call him Mr. J. And the reason why is his name is Jeff as well. So I don't want to go back and forth and say, Jeff said. It would drive you nuts and it would drive me nuts. So Mr. J in Israel, and I interviewed him, and he's in his late 60s, and here's how the conversation went. Mr. J, you live in Israel. You're right now, as we speak, with rockets overhead and missiles, and in this chaos, I know one of your bedrooms is a bomb shelter, which to the average American, I don't think they can understand how tense that is to have on your premises a bomb shelter. What's your take on what's going on right now in Israel about Iran? And Mr. J said, well, Biden is forcing Netanyahu to turn the other cheek, not to respond. I think that's a terrible mistake. It's wrong to let Iran get away with it after such a savage attack. So, World War III, Mr. J? Mr. J responded, not necessarily. If Israel can hit Iran hard enough, and I believe it can, there will no longer be an Iranian threat. And once the Iranian administration is damaged, the non-ethnic Persian minorities, which are actually the majority, will finally rise up and overthrow the Ayatollah administration. I answered back, fair answer, Mr. J, but what about Russia and China and all the other parties involved? Israel can't wipe out Iran and expect no one else to do anything in retaliation. Think beyond that you wipe out Iran, Mr. J, which could be done. What happens after? Do you think everyone's going to sit on the sidelines and do nothing? Mr. J responded, Iran has a soft underbelly. There is no civil defense. The Iranian army, as opposed to its proxies, has not been or seen actual battles since the Iran-Iraq war. They're a paper tiger. I replied back, Mr. J, you're missing the point. The point is past that. I'm not disputing that Iran can be taken out easily. What about the other players? They're not going to sit on the sidelines and do nothing. That's naive to think that I'm not questioning your point of view about Iran, that they could be taken out, but they've given more forward-looking about the follow-up. What about the other players? Russia, Hezbollah, Iraq, China? And Mr. J answered back, yes, I think Iran's allies will do nothing, because they don't want to risk a direct confrontation with the USA. And I replied back to him, you're missing the point, Mr. J. Russia, China, Iraq, they will join in and say, now Israel's a threat, we need to attack them. That's escalation upon escalation, possibly World War III. You think they're not going to respond, Mr. J. That's a very tunnel vision thinking again. I'm saying this with respect to you, but the other players are not going to sit on the sidelines. Mr. G replied, by the way, without Iran's financial backing, its proxies can do nothing. Mr. J, I'm not trying to be redundant, but you're missing the point. China and Russia are not going to stand by and go, great job, Israel, for taking out Iran. You're not looking globally. And again, I say my comments as a discourse between us. It's just a conversation with respect to you. You live there. I don't. Mr. J answered back, yes, but are they willing to go against the USA in a war? I think not. Mr. J, it's not a local problem, and it's not against only the USA. It's against the world. You're making it about USA being the big bad bully on the block. They aren't. They need the support of the other allies for USA to be effective. I think you're wrong about what you're saying. You don't think they'll go against the USA? Hey, China, North Korea, let's throw in Kim Jong-un. He'll join in. And Russia with Putin and his expansionism already happening. I think you're thinking and giving them too much credit. Mr. J answered back, look, Hezbollah, the Houthi, Hamas, all the rest of Iran's proxies are expendable in Iran's eyes, and correspondingly, Iran is expendable to Russia and China. Mr. J, I think you're giving short shrift to the implications of the expansionist nature of the actions if there's a massive attack from Israel back to Iran in response to the attack from a couple of hours ago. The players in the game are not going to stand on the sidelines and do nothing. History shows this. I'm not saying I hope you're wrong. I'm just saying I think you're wrong. It's not a black and white issue. Unfortunately, and rational players are not all here in this mix. There are a lot of irrational thinkers. But good back and forth between you and me. I appreciate your insight. I welcome you aboard to the website Facebook group that you join. Thank you so much. You're my friend. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just saying it's a very dangerous, volatile situation. Mr. J answered back, ultimately, Russia and China want to guard their own ass and do not want to risk a world war, certainly not because of Iran. Mr. J continued with his final comment. Bear in mind that the vast majority of Americans have no understanding of the radical Islamic mentality and morality, and consequently believe that people are about the same all over the world. They can't comprehend that the Islamists glorify death like they glorify life. So an insight to someone who lives in Israel as this is happening. This is a volatile and fluid situation. It's now 2 p.m. in Arizona time, as I'm recording this on a Sunday. And I don't know what's going to happen in Monday, Tuesday, by the time you hear this podcast. But let's put it this way. Netanyahu is damned if he does and damned if he doesn't. He's up for re-election. If he doesn't reply and he says, that's it, we're done, everyone's going to be mad at him. If he does reply and does a massive attack, everyone's going to be mad at him, and more countries may get involved, and the conflagration goes wider, becomes a world war. Not an easy decision. Don't even know what to say and what the proper answer is. What do you think? And because of this long episode, longest one I've had out of the 12 episodes, we're not unfortunately going to be doing an uplifting story with this segment. So I'm going to leave you with a couple of things, all right? You have the email, aworldgonemadpodcast@gmail.com. Email me. Tell me what you think. Give me your feedback. This is a major situation, not only affects that area, but could affect the world. So your feedback is imperative. And if you can't email or phone number that I gave you in the earlier segment, then join the new podcast Facebook group I created 2 days ago. Go to Facebook, look up a World Gone Mad podcast, and join. It's very easy. There is no reason for you not to become a part of our fast-growing community. Apparently, there's a lot of you out there listening to my podcast in the last 3 months. So now's the time to be part of this group with the Facebook group, a World Gone Mad podcast Facebook group. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you've not subscribed to the podcast. And I usually end the show one way, but I'm going to expand it a little bit. I'm your host, Jeff Allen Wolf. And to the people of Israel and to my listeners, until next time, stay hopeful.